I never thought a simple Mother's Day could feel like a life or death moment. That morning, the sun poured softly through our living room windows, dusting the hardwood floors in gold. Birds chirped outside, a normal, peaceful Sunday. And yet, something in the air felt off. I couldn't place it at first. Maybe it was just the usual nervous excitement of seeing Emily's face when she handed me her carefully wrapped gift. Or maybe it was something more. But before we continue, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell for updates. Emily, my 12-year-old daughter, had always been meticulous about presents. Every birthday, every holiday, she treated giving as an art form. But today, she was different. Nervous. Hesitant. She clutched a medium-sized gift box, wrapped in pastel paper with little hand-drawn flowers scattered across it. Her fingers fiddled with the ribbon like she wanted to undo it, then retie it, then undo it again. "Mom, Happy Mother's Day," she said, smiling, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. There was a tension there I hadn't seen before. I smiled back, trying to brush off the unease twisting in my stomach. "Thank you, honey. It's beautiful. I can't wait to see what's inside." But before I could reach for the box, Tom, my husband, froze. His hand went to his mouth, his eyes widening. He looked at me with a seriousness that made my heart skip a beat. "Don't open it," he said. I blinked. "What do you mean, don't open it? Can't you see?" he asked. I leaned closer, my curiosity flaring. And that's when everything changed. At first glance, it was just a pretty gift box. The kind you might find in a boutique or carefully packaged from a craft store. But then I noticed something I hadn't before. Tiny scratches along the corner of the lid. A faint, almost imperceptible stain along the side. Something about the way it shifted under the morning light made my stomach twist. Tom's hands were shaking slightly as he held it at arm's length, and that only made me more anxious. "Sarah," he said, his voice dropping to a whisper, "just trust me." Emily looked at both of us like she had just walked into a room where an invisible wall had suddenly appeared. Her lips quivered. She wanted to explain something, but stopped herself. She swallowed hard and avoided eye contact. I didn't understand. It was just a gift. My own daughter had picked it out for me. On Mother's Day. And yet, fear settled into my chest like a stone. I've always been curious. Always the one to look behind the curtain, open the letter before everyone else, check the surprise birthday bag before the party starts. That morning, though, I felt something stronger than curiosity. Something darker. A warning. I set the box down gently on the coffee table. The paper crinkled under its own weight, and a quiet sound seemed to echo in the room. Tick, tick, tick. Maybe that was just my imagination. But somehow, it didn't feel like it. Tom's hand rested on mine. His grip was firm but tense. I could feel him trying to steady himself, or maybe trying to steady me. I glanced at him, then at Emily. They were both watching me, holding their breath. "What is it?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. "Why can't I open it?" Emily finally spoke, a whisper so soft I had to lean in to hear. "Mom, I didn't know how to tell you. I tried. I really did. But I was scared." "Scared of what?" I asked, panic starting to creep in. "Scared of what it might mean," she said. I stared at her, my mind racing. Could it be something dangerous? A prank gone wrong? Something inside meant to hurt me? The rational part of my brain tried to calm me. It's just a gift. A box. Maybe she spilled paint or glued something weird. But the rest of me, the part that notices small details, that sees patterns in tiny things, told me this was no ordinary present. I took a deep breath and asked myself a question I hadn't thought I'd ask in my own living room. Do I have the right to open it? The tension was unbearable. Every minute that passed felt like a year. Emily was fidgeting, tugging at her sleeves. Tom's gaze never left the box. And me? I felt like I was standing on the edge of something huge, a secret waiting to explode. I tried to distract myself, to focus on anything else. I looked out the window at the neighborhood buzzing with other families celebrating and wondered if anyone else could feel that electric tension in the air. Did anyone else know that a simple gift could hold a secret capable of upending everything? Then I noticed it, a small, almost imperceptible movement beneath the lid. Not a shadow. Not the ribbon. Something shifting inside the box, as if it were alive. My breath caught in my throat. I wanted to step back, to tell myself it was my imagination. But I couldn't. Something told me that whatever was inside that box wasn't just a gift, it was a message, a warning, maybe even a test. I turned to Tom. "What is it?" I whispered, barely able to hold back the trembling in my voice. He shook his head slowly. "You're not ready." I wanted to argue, to insist, to rip that lid off and face whatever it was. But at that moment, a strange calm washed over me. A sense that sometimes, the right thing isn't the thing you want to do. Emily peeked at me, her eyes wide. "Mom, please, just wait 10 minutes. Don't open it yet." I nodded, but my curiosity was a storm inside me, roaring louder with every tick of the clock. 10 minutes. I could wait 10 minutes. I told myself that. And yet, my mind was spinning. What could possibly require such secrecy? What had Emily tried to hide for so long? I glanced at the box again. The scratches on the lid seemed more deliberate now. The faint stain glimmered like it had a story to tell. And I realized that Mother's Day, a day meant for joy, for love, for small surprises, was now the day I would discover a secret that could change everything. The clock ticked on. 10 minutes. I had no idea that when those 10 minutes passed, nothing would ever be the same. That my decision in those moments, to open it or not, would ripple through our family in ways I couldn't imagine. That the simplest act, opening a gift from your own daughter, could reveal truths I had been blind to my entire life. And so I waited. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. I couldn't take my eyes off the box. Even sitting 10 feet away on the coffee table, it seemed to command the room. There was something almost magnetic about it, something that made my hands itch to reach out despite the warnings ringing in my ears. Tom's face was taut, his jaw tight, and Emily hovered in the corner, twisting the hem of her shirt like she could make the box disappear if she willed it hard enough. I finally forced myself to examine it more closely. The wrapping paper was thick and glossy, decorated with pastel flowers, yet there were faint, irregular scratches along one corner, as if someone had tried to pry it open and failed. The ribbon was tied neatly, but the knot was slightly off-center, a small detail that somehow screamed intentional. I could smell a faint scent, sweet, almost floral, but underlying it was something metallic, faintly coppery, like coins or rust. I tried to laugh at myself. "It's just a gift," I muttered under my breath. But the laugh sounded hollow. Tom's voice broke through my thoughts. "Sarah, really? Don't touch it." "Tom, what is it?" "I just want to look," I said, my voice firmer than I felt. He shook his head. "You don't understand. Just trust me." Emily stepped forward then, her small hand brushing against mine. "Mom, please, it's not like any gift you've ever gotten before. You need to wait." Wait? My curiosity had turned into an ache in my chest. I hated waiting. I hated the feeling of the unknown stretching before me, wrapping me up in tension so tight it hurt to breathe. I wanted to lift the lid, peek inside, see what could possibly cause this panic. But then I realized something. This wasn't just curiosity anymore. Something about the way Tom and Emily reacted suggested this box was different. Not just a strange gift. Not just a prank. Different in a way that could. I didn't want to think about it. I took a step back and let my eyes roam over it again. It was heavier than it looked. Too heavy for the size, and that alone set my nerves on edge. Why would a simple gift box be heavy? My mind raced through possibilities. Jewelry, a keepsake, maybe even something fragile or dangerous. The rational part of my brain screamed that it had to be nothing dangerous. Emily wouldn't hurt me. But the irrational part, the one that notices tiny details, was screaming otherwise. I remembered all the tiny moments leading up to this morning. Emily had been secretive the past week, sneaking out of her room, taking calls on her phone behind closed doors. Tom had been unusually tense, distant even, a shadow lurking behind his normal calm demeanor. I had asked questions, but they both brushed me off. I thought it was just stress. I thought I was imagining it. But now, staring at this box, I realized that maybe I wasn't imagining anything at all. I knelt closer. The box seemed almost alive in the morning light. The corners caught the sunlight, and those faint scratches seemed to form a pattern, something deliberate, but I couldn't make out what it was. The ribbon shimmered slightly as I shifted my head, and I thought I saw a tiny reflection, like a miniature glint of something metallic inside. My mind raced. Was it a letter? A trinket? Something worse? I wanted to ask Emily, to demand an explanation, but I knew she wasn't ready to give it. Tom's hand rested on my shoulder, heavy, grounding, and full of warning. He didn't need to say anything. I felt it, the tension, the fear, the unspoken danger. "I don't understand," I whispered. "It's just a gift." "How bad could it be?" Tom didn't answer. He didn't have to. The look on his face said everything, worse than you think. I glanced at Emily again. Her eyes were wide, almost pleading, but she looked away before I could meet her gaze. That small, subtle avoidance told me more than words ever could. Something was inside that box, something that she and Tom had both known about, and something they had been protecting me from. I tried to think logically. Maybe it was fragile. Maybe it was something sentimental Emily had made that could be ruined if I opened it too roughly. That made sense. That could explain the heaviness. Maybe layers of paper and wrapping, a glass ornament, something delicate. But even as I told myself that, another part of me whispered, "That's not all there is." I couldn't resist examining the box from every angle. I lifted it slightly, just enough to feel its weight in my hands. Solid. Substantial. Not a trinket, not just a keepsake. Something bigger. Something meaningful. Something dangerous. Then I noticed a faint marking on the side of the box. A symbol, barely visible, almost like a smudge, but deliberate. My heart skipped a beat. I didn't recognize it, but my gut screamed at me that I had seen it somewhere before. Somewhere important. I shook my head, trying to push the thought away. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe I was just being paranoid. I tried to distract myself by looking around the living room. The sunlight spilled across the floor, the couch cushions were slightly askew, the coffee mug from breakfast still sat half full. Everything normal. And yet, nothing felt normal anymore. That box had changed everything. The air felt thick, charged with anticipation. I felt like a character in one of those suspense novels I devoured late at night, and suddenly I was living the story myself. Emily's voice broke the tension again. "Mom, please don't." "Not yet." Her words were small, soft, almost fragile, but they carried an urgency I couldn't ignore. I swallowed hard. Part of me wanted to demand answers. Part of me wanted to rip the lid open and face whatever truth it held. But the rational part, the one still tethered to reality, whispered, "Wait." I sat back slowly and let the box rest on the coffee table. I could feel the weight of it pressing into the air between us, a silent reminder that this was no ordinary gift. I glanced at Tom, who finally allowed himself a small, tense exhale. Emily seemed to shrink back into herself, like releasing her grip on the secret was both a relief and a torment. Then, without warning, I felt a strange vibration, subtle, almost imperceptible, coming from the box. My fingers itched to touch it again, to shake it, to understand. But I didn't. I didn't move. My heart pounded. The clock ticked in the background. 10 minutes, my mind reminded me. 10 minutes. Every second stretched longer than the last. The room felt smaller. The walls seemed to close in slightly. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. And then, a tiny sound, a faint click from the box. I froze. Tom's eyes met mine. His expression was unreadable, a mix of warning and fear. Emily's lips trembled, and for the first time, I saw tears threatening to spill. "What is it?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. Tom didn't answer. He simply shook his head, his gaze fixed on the box as if willing it to stay closed. Emily stepped back, as if giving it space, as if even breathing near it could trigger something we weren't ready for. I stared at the box again. The scratches, the metallic scent, the faint movement inside, the click, everything was telling me that opening it would change everything. And in that moment, I realized that Mother's Day, a day I had always associated with flowers, cards, and love, had turned into a test of patience, trust, and courage. I took a deep breath and whispered, more to myself than anyone else, I don't know if I can wait. I don't know if I want to. But as my fingers hovered over the lid, the room seemed to pulse with anticipation, the air charged with something I couldn't see, couldn't explain, and didn't dare ignore. And then, just as I was about to act, Tom's voice cut through the silence, sharp and commanding. Stop. Do not touch it. I froze. My hand hovered millimeters from the box. And in that suspended moment, I knew one thing with absolute clarity. Whatever was inside that gift, it was not just a present. It was a message. A warning. Something we had all been avoiding. And I had no idea what it would mean if I crossed that line. The room felt smaller with every passing minute. The sunlight still streamed through the windows, but it did nothing to lighten the tension. The box sat on the coffee table, silent and heavy, a mute sentinel that seemed to pulse with unspoken secrets. I couldn't take my eyes off it, yet at the same time, I was forced to look at the two people who made my life feel like home. Tom, my husband of 15 years, and Emily, my daughter. And in that look, I realized something unsettling. I didn't recognize either of them anymore. Tom was pacing near the kitchen counter, his hands running through his hair in the kind of anxious gesture I had never seen from him. Normally calm, patient, almost boringly steady, he now resembled a coiled spring about to snap. His usual confidence had vanished, replaced by tension so thick I felt it pressing against my chest. Tom, please. Just tell me what's going on, I said, my voice a mixture of fear and frustration. I can't just sit here guessing. He stopped pacing and turned toward me, his expression unreadable. Sarah, I can't. Not yet. You need to trust me. That's all I can say right now. Trust him? I wanted to scream. I had trusted him my entire life. But the way he held himself, the way his eyes darted toward the box like it was a ticking bomb, told me something I couldn't ignore. Whatever was in that gift, it wasn't just a surprise. It was dangerous, or at least, it could hurt us if we weren't careful. Emily, standing at the corner of the room, seemed frozen in place. Her fingers twisted the hem of her dress, and she avoided eye contact with both of us. Mom, please, she said softly. Just wait. Her voice was barely audible, but it carried the weight of desperation. I could feel the tension radiating between the three of us, like electricity in the air before a storm. Normally, family mornings were filled with laughter, breakfast smells, and teasing. Today, even the aroma of freshly brewed coffee seemed tainted. It felt like we were all holding our breath, waiting for something we couldn't name. I sat down slowly on the couch, my eyes still locked on the box. I don't understand. It's Mother's Day. Emily's gift. Why is everyone acting like there's a bomb in the living room? Tom shook his head. It's not that simple, Sarah. It never is with things like this. Things like what? I asked, my frustration rising. Is this about Emily? Or is it about you? He didn't answer immediately, just ran a hand across his face. When he spoke, his voice was quieter, more strained than I'd ever heard. It's about both of you. And it's about the past. The past? My heart skipped a beat. I had no idea what he meant, and yet the way he said it made my stomach turn. I had always believed that our family's past was ordinary, maybe messy in small ways, but never threatening. And yet, right now, with this box sitting silently in the middle of the room, I realized how little I actually knew about my own life. Emily finally stepped closer, her small hands shaking. Mom, I didn't know how to tell you, she whispered. I didn't know how it would make you feel. I thought it was safer to wait. Safer? I echoed, bewildered. Safer from what? You're scaring me, Emily. Her eyes filled with tears. Mom, it's complicated. Just, please, don't open it until I say. I looked at her, my own emotions twisting in a knot. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to trust her. And yet, the very idea of leaving the box untouched was nearly unbearable. I wanted to shake her, to demand the truth, to rip the ribbon and see what was inside. But every time I moved toward it, Tom's hand shot out, stopping me. Every time I tried to look at Emily for reassurance, she looked away. The room seemed to shrink, the air thickening with tension, and for the first time in years, I felt like an outsider in my own family. The people I loved most were suddenly strangers, holding back secrets that could change everything. I tried to take a deep breath to steady myself, but it was no use. The quiet between us was deafening. It was punctuated only by the faint ticking of the wall clock, each second a reminder that time was passing, that we were all waiting for something inevitable. Finally, I broke the silence. Tom. Emily. I need to know. I need something. Anything. You can't just leave me in suspense like this. Tom sighed heavily and ran a hand down his face. Sarah, sometimes knowing too early is worse than not knowing at all. Emily's voice trembled. Mom. I promise, it's not because I don't want to share it. I didn't know how to tell you without scaring you. Scaring me. That's when the cold, creeping realization hit me. This wasn't just a gift. It wasn't just a secret. It was something that could hurt me. Something that my own family feared could change the way I saw everything. I looked back at the box and my pulse quickened. How could a simple present from my daughter carry such weight? How could a day meant to celebrate love, gratitude, and family be turned into this? Tension, fear, and unspoken dread. I realized that the tension in the room wasn't just about the box. It was about trust. It was about fear. And it was about knowing that in families, even the closest ones, secrets can exist right under the surface, quietly, patiently, waiting for the right moment to emerge. I glanced at Tom again. Why are you so afraid of it? He shook his head slowly. It's not fear of the box, Sarah. It's fear of what's inside. What it will make you see. And what it will make all of us see. Emily's eyes pleaded with me again, and I could feel my curiosity battling with my fear. I wanted to open it, to understand, to confront whatever was hidden. But the look on Tom's face, the trembling in Emily's hands, the weight of the unknown, it all told me one thing. I wasn't ready. And yet, the ache of curiosity grew stronger with each passing second. It was a strange, unbearable feeling, like holding back a scream when your lungs are on fire, like standing on the edge of a cliff and being told not to look down. I could hear the faint click of the box again, almost like it was alive, waiting, mocking my hesitation. My mind raced with questions. Why would my own family hide something from me? What was in that box that warranted such secrecy? And, more importantly, what would happen if I disobeyed them? The tension stretched, taut as a violin string, vibrating in the air. I could feel it in my chest, in my throat, in my hands. The room was silent except for the ticking clock and our shallow breaths, yet it was deafening. Every moment that passed made the box heavier, more ominous, more impossible to ignore. I sat back and let out a long, shaky breath. All right, I whispered. I'll wait. But only for now. Tom nodded, though the relief in his eyes was tempered with concern. Emily exhaled a small, shuddering sigh, as if a burden had been lifted for now. I stared at the box again, feeling a strange mixture of relief and dread. Relief that I hadn't opened it. Dread that I couldn't stop thinking about it. And in that moment, I knew one undeniable truth. Our family would never be the same after this Mother's Day. Because whatever was in that box, hidden under its delicate paper and pastel ribbons, was waiting. Waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. And when it did, nothing would ever be normal again. Emily stayed in the corner of the room, her small frame trembling like a leaf in the wind. Her fingers were intertwined nervously, twisting and untwisting, as if the motion could somehow make the tension disappear. I watched her, my heart tightening. There was no doubt in my mind now. She was holding something back. Something heavy. Something that had been sitting between us, unspoken, for far too long. Emily, I said gently, trying to keep my voice calm, you can tell me. Whatever it is, you don't have to hide it anymore. She looked up at me, and for a second, I thought I saw the weight of the world in her young eyes. But then she quickly looked away, biting her lip, her small hands trembling. "Mom, I didn't know how to tell you," she whispered. I thought it would be better if you didn't know." "Better? Better for who?" I asked softly but firmly, sitting closer to her. "Emily, hiding something from me, from all of us, doesn't make it better. It just makes it scarier." Her eyes filled with tears, and I saw her hands clutch the edge of her dress as if she could hold the secret inside her chest. "I didn't know how it would make you feel," she said again. "I didn't know if you'd be mad or scared or—" She trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. I swallowed hard, trying to keep my own emotions in check. I wanted to comfort her, to hold her close, but there was a tension that kept me frozen in place. I could feel the electricity in the air between us, a mixture of fear, anticipation, and unspoken truths. I realized that Emily's secret wasn't just a child's worry, it was something bigger. Something that involved all of us. "Emily," I said gently, "look at me. Please. You can trust me. Whatever it is, it won't change how I feel about you." Her gaze finally met mine, and I saw the storm behind her eyes. "Mom, it's about Grandpa," she said quietly. I froze. Grandpa. My father. My mind raced. What could possibly connect a simple gift box from Emily to Grandpa? He had passed away years ago, and while he had been an unusual man, he wasn't dangerous. At least, that's what I had thought. "Grandpa?" I echoed, my voice barely more than a whisper. "What about him?" Emily bit her lip again, tears spilling over. I found something a long time ago, and I didn't know how to handle it. I thought if I just kept it, if I didn't say anything, everything would be okay." "Found something? What did you find?" I asked, my pulse quickening. My mind was spinning with possibilities, each one more terrifying than the last. "Was it a letter? A photograph? Something dangerous?" She hesitated, glancing at Tom, who had been silently watching us, his face unreadable. He nodded slightly, a small gesture that seemed to give her permission to continue. Emily swallowed hard. "Mom, it's inside the box. That's why I didn't know how to give it to you. I didn't know if you were ready." My breath caught in my throat. Inside the box. Whatever it was, it had been sitting there this entire time, wrapped neatly, seemingly innocent, but carrying a secret that had terrified my daughter. My mind flashed through every scenario, each more impossible than the last. "Emily," I whispered, my voice shaking slightly, "you mean, all this time, the gift, it's not just a gift?" She shook her head. "No, it's not just a gift. It's a message. Something Grandpa wanted you to know. Something he left for you." I felt a chill run down my spine. A message from Grandpa? That didn't make sense. He had never been the type to leave cryptic notes or hidden secrets. He had been strict, yes, private, yes, but never mysterious in a way that could make your own child tremble. I looked at Tom, searching for some kind of explanation. His jaw was tight, and his eyes were shadowed with a mixture of fear and anticipation. "Tom, what is it? Why is this so serious?" He shook his head slowly. "Sarah, it's bigger than you think. Much bigger. What Emily found, what's inside that box, it could change everything you know about our family." My mind reeled. Change everything? My heart pounded. I wanted to leap forward, to tear open the box, to confront the truth, but a part of me hesitated. A small, insistent voice whispered that opening it too soon could be dangerous, emotionally, maybe even physically. "Mom," Emily's voice cut through my thoughts. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I thought if I just kept it hidden, everything would be okay. But it's not. I can't keep it from you anymore." I reached out and took her hand, holding it tightly. "Thank you for telling me," I said softly. "I know it's hard, but we'll face it together. I promise." She nodded, but her small frame was still trembling. The weight of her secret had been lifted slightly, but the tension remained. We all knew that the next step, opening the box, would change everything. I looked back at the box, sitting silently on the coffee table. The pastel wrapping, the delicate ribbon, the scratches along the corner. All of it seemed insignificant compared to the weight of the secret it held. I realized that whatever was inside was not just about Grandpa or Emily or even me. It was about all of us. It was about the hidden truths that families carry, the ones that fester quietly until the right or wrong moment arrives. My heart raced. I wanted answers. I wanted to know what Grandpa had left behind, what message he had intended for me, what secret Emily had uncovered. And yet, a part of me feared the answer. What if it wasn't what I expected? What if it was something that could break us? I looked at Emily again, tears streaming down her face. Are you ready for me to see it? I asked gently. She shook her head. Not yet. 10 minutes. Just 10 more minutes. I need to make sure you're ready. Tom placed a hand on my shoulder, steadying me. She's right. 10 minutes. That's all it takes. I nodded, though the ache in my chest grew stronger. 10 minutes. 10 minutes to wait, to imagine, to fear, to hope. 10 minutes that felt like an eternity. And in that suspended moment, I realized something terrifying. The gift, the secret, the message from Grandpa, whatever it was, wasn't just a story to be told. It was a turning point. A moment that would redefine our family, our trust, and our understanding of everything we thought we knew. I took a deep breath and tried to calm my racing heart. I told myself I could wait. I had to wait. But deep down, I knew the truth. Nothing would ever be the same after this. And when the 10 minutes were up, when the box was finally opened, everything we had known, everything we had trusted, would be called into question. The seconds ticked by. The air was thick with anticipation, fear, and a strange, unspoken excitement. I sat, holding Emily's hand, and stared at the box. 10 minutes. And then, the moment of truth would arrive. The 10 minutes felt like a lifetime. Every tick of the clock echoed in my ears as if mocking my patience. My fingers itched to touch the box, to peel back the ribbon, to finally confront the secret that had been whispered in hushed tones and shivering voices. Emily sat beside me, her small hand trembling in mine, while Tom hovered just behind, eyes locked on the gift like it could explode at any moment. And then, almost involuntarily, I leaned closer. The box seemed to hum, alive in its silence. Its pastel paper shimmered in the sunlight, and the faint scratches on its corner looked more deliberate now than ever. My heart raced. Every instinct screamed that this was no ordinary gift, that something inside had the power to shatter everything I thought I knew. Mom, please, Emily whispered again, but her voice carried urgency this time. Fear. And something else. Guilt. I swallowed hard and nodded. I know, honey. I'm trying. Tom's eyes never left the box. He muttered under his breath, almost to himself, "You're not ready." Not yet. But I was ready. I couldn't stand it any longer. I needed to see, to understand, to confront whatever had been kept from me for so long. Carefully, I lifted the lid, just enough to peek inside. My breath caught. Inside was a small envelope, delicate and worn at the edges, as if it had been hidden for years. The paper was thick, creamy, and slightly yellowed with age. On the front, in faded ink, were the words, "For Sarah, read only when the time is right." I froze. My hands hovered over it, the envelope trembling under my touch. Emily, did Grandpa leave this for me? She nodded, biting her lip. Yes. I found it after he passed. I didn't know if it was for you or if it was dangerous. I didn't know what to do. Tom's voice was quiet, almost reverent. Sarah, this isn't just a letter. It's a truth he wanted you to know. Something hidden for decades. I hesitated, staring at the envelope. My mind spun. What could Grandpa have left behind that was so important, so powerful, so life-changing, that my own daughter had been too afraid to give it to me? With trembling hands, I finally lifted the envelope completely from the box. The weight in my chest grew heavier with each second. Emily's eyes were wide, and Tom's hands were clasped tightly together, as if he were holding back the storm that was about to hit. I tore the envelope open carefully, almost afraid that any sudden movement would shatter something fragile. Inside was a single sheet of paper, folded neatly. The handwriting was unmistakably Grandpa's, elegant, deliberate, each word carrying the weight of a man who had lived long and kept secrets carefully hidden. I unfolded the letter and began to read. The first few lines were harmless enough, reminiscing about my childhood, my favorite memories with him, moments of laughter and love. But then the tone shifted, darker, more urgent. "Sarah," the letter began, "there is something you must know. Something I kept hidden to protect you, and to protect our family. What I am about to reveal may shock you, but you must understand it is the truth. It is time you knew." My heart pounded so loudly I thought Tom and Emily would hear it. The air in the room felt thick, almost suffocating. I glanced at Emily. Her small hand pressed against her mouth as tears streamed down her cheeks. Tom's face was pale, his eyes fixed on me, waiting, fearing. The next lines of the letter made my stomach drop. Grandpa wrote about a hidden event in our family's past, something involving betrayal, a secret inheritance, and a truth about a family member that had been carefully buried for decades. I couldn't believe what I was reading. Every line, every word, twisted a knife in my chest. The man I had trusted, the grandfather I had adored, had left a secret so explosive that it threatened to unravel the fabric of our family. Emily whispered, her voice trembling, "Mom, that's why I didn't give it to you. I didn't know how you'd react. I didn't know if it would hurt too much." I looked at her, my own hands shaking. "Emily, this isn't just a letter. This is everything." Tom took a step closer. "Sarah, there's more. That letter, it's only the beginning. Grandpa left instructions, clues, evidence, and it's all in that box. But you can't rush it. You need to be careful." I swallowed hard, my mind spinning. Careful. But how could I be careful when the truth staring back at me threatened to shatter everything I had known? The room was silent except for our breathing. The box, once innocent and decorative, now felt like a Pandora's box, filled with history, secrets, and the weight of generations. I realized in that moment that Mother's Day, a day meant for celebration, gratitude, and love, had transformed into a reckoning. I looked at Emily and Tom. We need to understand this. We need to go through it. Together." Emily nodded, tears rolling down her face. I'm ready, Mom. I think." Tom's eyes softened for the first time, but the tension in his shoulders didn't ease. "Be prepared, Sarah. Once you know, nothing is the same. Grandpa trusted you to handle this, but it will test you." I took a deep breath, holding the letter tightly in my hands. My pulse raced, my stomach churned, and a cold sweat formed along my spine. I had always thought I knew my family, thought I understood the layers and secrets that existed. But now, I realized I hadn't known anything at all. The letter hinted at betrayals I had never suspected, connections I had never imagined, and truths about people I loved that could change how I saw them forever. I looked back at the box, wondering what else Grandpa had left hidden inside. And then, just as I was about to reach for the next piece of evidence, something fell out of the envelope, a small, folded photograph. I picked it up, my hands trembling. The image was blurred at first, but then my eyes adjusted and I froze. It was a picture of someone I recognized immediately, someone I had trusted my entire life. And yet, in that photograph, I saw a side of them I had never known, a secret that could destroy everything. I felt Emily squeeze my hand. "Mom, that's why I didn't know how to give it to you," she whispered. I stared at the photograph, my mind spinning. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. All I could do was stare. And in that moment, I realized that the gift box, the letter, the photograph, they weren't just surprises. They were revelations. Bombshells carefully hidden, waiting for the right moment, and now, the moment had arrived. I looked up at Tom. Why didn't Grandpa tell anyone? Why keep this hidden for so long? His voice was low, almost a whisper. He knew some truths are too dangerous to reveal too soon. And he knew only you could handle it. I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of generations pressing down on me. This was no longer just a Mother's Day gift. This was a reckoning. And just as I thought I had absorbed it all, I heard Emily whisper again, "Mom, there's one more thing. One more secret. And it's the reason why the box is still closed." My heart stopped. The photograph lay on the coffee table like a trap. I stared at it, unable to tear my eyes away. Each detail etched itself into my mind, the expressions, the setting, the subtle clues Grandpa had captured. It was more than a memory. It was a revelation. Something my mind wasn't fully prepared to process. I glanced at Emily, whose small hand still clutched mine. Her eyes were wide, filled with both fear and encouragement. "Mom, you have to decide. It's your choice. You can stop here, or you can see everything." Stop here? My pulse raced at the thought. Could I really stop? Could I live knowing there were secrets just sitting there, waiting, taunting me? Every instinct screamed at me to keep going, to confront the truth, to uncover whatever my grandfather had hidden, no matter how painful or dangerous. Tom's voice was low and steady behind me. "Sarah, think carefully. Once you open the box completely, there's no turning back. The secrets inside, they could change everything you know about our family. Are you ready for that?" I swallowed hard. Ready. Was I ever ready for something like this? But I knew one thing for certain. I couldn't ignore it. Not now. Not when Emily had trusted me, when Grandpa had left this for me, when the tension in the air made the room feel like a pressure cooker ready to explode. I reached out toward the box. My hand hovered above the ribbon, and I felt the weight of the choice pressing down on me. 10 minutes ago, I had been told to wait. 10 minutes ago, I had no idea what I was about to face. Now, the box seemed alive, as if it knew I was about to make a decision that would change everything. Emily's whisper cut through the silence. "Mom, whatever it is, you're strong enough to handle it. Grandpa believed in you. I believe in you." Her words, small and trembling, gave me the courage to act. I untied the ribbon slowly, each movement deliberate. My hands were shaking, but I forced myself to be precise. I didn't want to rip the paper. I didn't want to destroy anything. I wanted to face it exactly as Grandpa had left it, exactly as Emily had intended. With a deep breath, I lifted the lid. Inside, the contents were layered, carefully organized. Papers, photographs, and small objects filled the box. Each one seemed mundane at first glance, yet each carried the weight of secrecy, history, and consequence. My mind raced to process it all. I felt like I had stepped into a time capsule, a private archive of family truths and hidden stories. Tom and Emily watched silently, their faces taut with anticipation. I could feel their fear, their worry, their love, pressing down on me as heavily as the box itself. I picked up the first object, a small, folded piece of paper. Grandpa's handwriting was precise, deliberate. The note began with a memory, but then shifted to something darker, a confession of a betrayal no one had ever known about, involving a family member I had trusted my entire life. I felt my hands tremble as I read the words. Each sentence was a punch to the gut. Each revelation reshaped everything I had believed about my family. My mind raced through questions. How could I have been so blind? How could Grandpa have kept this secret for so long? And why had Emily discovered it before I did? The letter was only the beginning. I unfolded a second sheet and gasped. It contained evidence, receipts, photographs, and documents that corroborated Grandpa's story. The truth was undeniable. I couldn't ignore it. And yet, as I pieced it together, a cold knot of fear formed in my stomach. The revelations weren't just about the past. They had implications for the present, for Tom, for Emily, for me. Emily's voice broke through my thoughts. "Mom, the last part, that's the hardest. That's the one you need to see, but it's not easy." I looked at her, my heart pounding. "The hardest? Emily, what do you mean?" She hesitated, tears streaming down her cheeks. "It's about someone you love, someone you've always trusted. Grandpa left something, a truth about them. And I didn't know if you could handle it." My pulse raced. I didn't want to imagine who it could be. I didn't want to think about the possibility that someone I trusted, someone I loved, could be tied to this hidden secret. But my curiosity, my need for the truth, overpowered the fear gnawing at my gut. Tom placed a hand on my shoulder. Sarah, this is the moment of choice. You can stop. You can walk away. Or you can see it all. But once you do, there's no going back. I looked down at the box, at the neatly arranged layers of secrets. My mind screamed at me to be cautious. To protect myself. To protect Emily. But a deeper, stronger part of me, the part that needed answers, that demanded the truth, pushed forward. I took a deep breath. I have to see it. All of it. Emily nodded, squeezing my hand. Then, be ready. This will change everything. I lifted the next layer. And that's when I saw it. A single object, small but powerful, wrapped carefully in tissue paper. It wasn't a photograph or a letter. It wasn't evidence of the past. It was a keepsake. A key. My stomach twisted. A key to what? I didn't know, but I felt the weight of its significance immediately. Grandpa's handwriting on a note beside it read, "This unlocks the truth. Handle it with care." I turned to Emily. The truth? What truth? She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. Mom, I don't know if I can explain it. But once you use it, everything changes. You'll understand why Grandpa kept this secret hidden for so long. Tom's eyes were dark with concern. Sarah, whatever happens next, you need to be prepared. This isn't just about the past. It's about everything. Our family, our trust, our lives. I nodded, though fear gripped me like ice. My hands shook as I held the key. I knew in that moment that whatever came next couldn't be undone. The choice had been made. I had opened the box. I had confronted the first layer of Grandpa's secrets. And now, I was standing on the edge of something monumental. Emily whispered, almost as if to herself, Mom, this is it. The moment that changes everything. I looked down at the key, feeling the weight of generations in my hands. And in that moment, I realized one undeniable truth. I was about to step into a world of secrets, betrayal, and revelations that could shatter everything I thought I knew about my family. I took a deep breath and whispered, I'm ready. But as I prepared to use the key, a sudden sound, a click, a shift, a whisper of movement, echoed from somewhere in the room. I froze. My pulse skyrocketed. Tom and Emily's faces mirrored my shock and fear. Whatever was coming next, it wasn't just in the past anymore. It was here. The sound had frozen me in place. A faint click, barely audible at first, but unmistakable now, echoing somewhere in the room. My heart pounded, and a cold sweat broke across my forehead. I clutched the key tighter, instinctively holding it close like a shield. Did you hear that? I whispered, my voice shaking. Emily nodded, wide-eyed. Mom, I think someone's here. Tom moved instinctively between us and the box, his body tense, his gaze scanning the room. No one's supposed to be here. That's impossible. The doors were locked. Impossible or not, the reality pressed on me. That sound, soft, deliberate, had a weight, an intent behind it. Someone knew. Someone had been watching. I took a cautious step back, my eyes darting around the living room. Everything looked normal. The couch cushions slightly ruffled, the coffee table cluttered with the box and our trembling hands, the sunlight streaming through the windows. But the room felt off. The air seemed thicker, charged with a tension I couldn't name. Emily's grip on my hand tightened. Mom, what if they want the box? What if they know what's inside? I shook my head, trying to calm both of us. I don't know. But we can't panic. We have to stay calm. Tom crouched beside me, voice low. Sarah. Whatever's in this box, it's dangerous. Grandpa knew that. That's why he hid it, why he left instructions. Whoever made that sound, they might be here for it. You have to be careful. Careful. The word reverberated in my mind as I looked down at the key again. The small metal object suddenly felt heavier in my hand, a symbol of both hope and danger. It was the key to understanding Grandpa's secrets, but it could also be a target for someone who wanted those secrets buried forever. I took a deep breath. Okay, we need to think. We can't just sit here waiting. Emily nodded, tears streaking her cheeks. Mom, I think we should hide it. Hide the box. Tom shook his head sharply. No, you can't move it. That could trigger whatever they're planning. We need to be smart, not reactive. Stay here, stay together, and don't open it further until we understand the risk. My mind was spinning. Risk. Threat. Danger. All terms I never associated with Mother's Day or a gift from my daughter. And yet, here I was, holding a key to a box that had already reshaped my perception of everything I thought I knew about my family. Then the faint click came again. Louder this time. And with it, a shadow. I froze. My pulse skyrocketed. The sunlight streaming through the windows caught the corner of the room, and for a split second, I thought I saw movement. A figure. But when I blinked, there was nothing. Emily whimpered. Mom, it's here. Someone's here. I shook my head, trying to rationalize it. It's probably just the wind. Or the house settling. That's all. But the unease in the room was undeniable. Something had shifted. The air had changed. The tension was no longer just emotional, it was physical, pressing against us like a storm about to break. Tom's voice cut through my panic. Sarah, listen. If anyone comes through that door, you hide. Emily, you hide too. But whatever you do, don't let them touch the box. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. Okay. The box sat on the coffee table, innocent and pastel-wrapped, yet now it seemed more ominous than ever. I realized in that moment that Grandpa's secrets weren't just about revelations, they were about protection. He had hidden the truth not only to safeguard the family from the shock of it, but perhaps from others who would use it for their own gain. Another sound, this one closer, made me jump. A soft, deliberate shuffle from somewhere near the back of the house. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. Whoever or whatever it was, they weren't just curious. They were deliberate. Targeted. Emily grabbed my arm. Mom, what do we do? I clenched the key tighter, feeling its weight as both a lifeline and a weapon. We wait, I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. We stay together. And we protect it at all costs. Tom moved toward the living room entrance, his hands up in a defensive stance. Sarah, Emily, stay behind me. Whatever this is, we can handle it. But stay calm. That's key. Calm. Easier said than done. Every instinct screamed to run, to scream, to grab the box and hide it somewhere far from whoever might come for it. But I couldn't. I had already crossed a line. I had opened it. And now I had to face the consequences. I glanced down at Emily. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with terror. Mom. I don't want them to take it. I can't. I can't lose it now. I pulled her into a tight embrace, feeling her small frame shudder against me. You won't lose it. I promise. I'm not letting anyone take this. We'll protect it. Together. The room was silent again, except for our breathing. The tension was suffocating, almost unbearable. And then, the click came again. This time, it wasn't subtle. It wasn't accidental. It was deliberate. Someone or something had just triggered a movement near the door. And in that instant, I knew the danger wasn't coming from the past anymore. It was here. Tom's hand rested on my shoulder. Sarah, get ready. Whatever comes next, it's coming for the box. And it's coming for the truth. I gripped the key tightly, my knuckles white. My heart raced. Every second stretched longer than the last, the suspense pressing down on us like a physical weight. The shadows in the corners of the room seemed to deepen, stretching toward us like claws. And then, a soft, deliberate voice echoed from the hallway. One that made my blood run cold. Sarah, we need to talk. I froze, staring at the doorway. The voice was calm, familiar, but with an edge that made my stomach twist. Whoever it was, they knew. They had been waiting. And they weren't here to be polite. Emily whimpered again, clutching my arm. Mom, it's them. I know it. I swallowed hard, gripping the key as if my life depended on it. And in that moment, I realized one terrifying truth. Opening the box, uncovering Grandpa's secrets, had set events into motion we couldn't stop. The past was no longer hidden. The danger was here. And whatever came next could change everything. The voice in the hallway froze me to the spot. Calm, familiar, but edged with intent, like someone who had been waiting years for this moment. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might burst. Tom positioned himself between us and the door, his hand hovering near where a weapon might be, but his eyes were fixed on the figure emerging from the shadows. It was Aunt Lorraine, my sister-in-law. She stepped lightly into the room, her face unreadable, but her eyes sharp, calculating. Emily whimpered softly, hiding behind my legs. "Lorraine," I whispered, my voice barely audible. "What are you doing here?" She smiled faintly, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I think you know exactly why I'm here," she said. "That box. Grandpa never should have left it for you. Some things are meant to stay hidden." My stomach dropped. She had known about the box? She had been waiting for us to open it? "Why?" Tom asked, his voice firm. "Why are you here? What are you trying to do?" Lorraine's eyes flicked to the box, then back to me. "To tell you the truth, you weren't ready. None of you were. Grandpa's secrets. They weren't meant for anyone but me for now. But since you opened it," she paused, the tension thick in the room. "Well, I guess the truth has a way of surfacing whether we like it or not." Emily whimpered again. "Mom, what does she mean?" I swallowed hard, clutching the key in my hand. I don't know, Emily. But we're about to find out." Lorraine stepped closer to the coffee table, eyes never leaving the box. "That box," she said softly, almost reverently, "contains more than memories. More than letters. Grandpa left you the evidence of a betrayal that has haunted this family for decades. And now that you've opened it, you're part of it too." I felt my hands shake violently. "What betrayal?" Her gaze softened slightly, almost regretfully. "It's about your father." My breath caught. "My father?" I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. My mind raced. What could possibly connect my father to Grandpa's secrets, the box, and Lorraine's sudden appearance? Lorraine reached into the box and pulled out the final item, a small, sealed envelope, thicker than the others, almost as if it contained documents or photographs. She held it out to me. This is everything. The final piece. Grandpa left it for you to understand the truth. But be warned, once you read it, nothing will ever be the same." I hesitated, my pulse hammering. My instincts screamed at me to stop, to push it away, to protect myself and Emily from whatever revelation lay inside. But my curiosity, my need for truth, demanded that I see it. Emily's hand found mine again. "Mom, it's okay. You can do it. We'll face it together." Tom's voice was calm but urgent. "Sarah, whatever you find in there, it's real. And it's dangerous. But you can't ignore it." I nodded slowly, lifting the envelope. My hands trembled as I broke the seal. Inside, I found photographs, letters, and documents, all pointing to something I could never have anticipated. Evidence of a long-hidden truth about my father, my family, and even Grandpa himself. I stared at the photographs first. They showed my father in situations I couldn't reconcile with the man I knew, meetings with strangers in secret locations, documents indicating a hidden business, and even connections to events I had thought were unrelated to our family. My mind reeled. The letters were worse. They contained confessions, apologies, and instructions. Grandpa had uncovered something about my father, something illegal, something that could destroy our family's reputation and trust if it were ever revealed. And now, decades later, the evidence had finally been placed in my hands. Emily's voice trembled. "Mom, what does it mean?" I shook my head, unable to form words. The truth was overwhelming. It wasn't just a family secret. It was a revelation that demanded action, judgment, and understanding. The weight of it pressed down on me like a physical force. Lorraine stepped closer, her tone softening. "I didn't come to harm you, Sarah. I came to ensure you understood. Grandpa trusted you with this. And now, you're the only one who can decide what to do with it." The realization hit me like a punch. I wasn't just a recipient of the secret. I was now the guardian. The one who would decide how this truth impacted our family, how it would be handled, and who would be protected. I looked at Emily, whose small hand still held mine, and at Tom, who was tense but supportive. I I understand, I whispered. But this changes everything. Lorraine nodded. Yes, it does. And now that you know, you can't go back. The past is no longer hidden. The choice is yours. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my racing heart. I felt the weight of generations in that room, the secrets, betrayals, and trust pressing down on me. And yet, in that moment, I also felt a strange clarity. I had been given the truth. I had been given the power to decide how it would shape our family's future. I turned to Tom and Emily. We'll face this, together. Whatever it takes. Emily nodded, tears streaming down her face. Together, she whispered. Lorraine stepped back, a faint smile on her face. Then I'll leave you to it. But remember, the box holds more than just evidence. It holds decisions, consequences, and the truth about who we really are. I closed my eyes for a moment, letting the weight of her words sink in. I realized that this Mother's Day, the gift from Emily, the box, the key, and the revelations had transformed everything. Nothing would ever be the same. And as I looked back at the envelope, the final evidence in my hands, I knew one undeniable truth. Our family's secrets had been buried for decades. And now they were finally, irrevocably revealed.